All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Oregairu, Season 1, Episode 6. Seven, my bad,
yes.
yeah.
Last episode, we got a bunch of really good stuff. We got Yukino's older sister, Haruno.
Yes.
Which was definitely an interesting interaction.
Yeah, she had a very unique way of interacting with Hachiman that kind of falls right into his very specific viewpoint of nice girls, in that she is the extremely over-the-top, extremely forward, and extremely successful at the game of playing the social dynamics and stuff. Thus, it reeks to him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Yukino was definitely happy about that. But that's not all, because it was Yui's birthday, and they were shopping for gifts and such.
Oh.
And the drama and everything was able to be put aside, and now they can move forward from, starting over, right?
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Hachiman was able to basically satisfy that part of himself that said there's an imbalance in the scales. Now it's balanced. Things can move forward. And Yukino played wingman to make sure that it happened.
That's true.
Even getting so involved in it that she forgot her books, which
that
definitely doesn't seem like a thing she'd do.
Yeah, what's up with that, Yukino?
Were you very
emotionally
emotionally compromised by what was going on? What?
Interesting.
No, not at all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah. Looks like we have a little bit stronger of a foundation upon which the group will be able to move forward.
Yep.
However, things are still up in the air in a lot of ways as well.
They are.
So we'll have to see how the dynamics shape out moving forward. Y'all, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. All right, everyone. Now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below. Then come back here for the discussion. All right. New arc of the story.
Yep.
We got ourselves an excursion.
Camp.
Yes. The excursion seems to be one, though, that is more or less kind of a roundabout way, though, of getting Hachiman, for instance, to be more socially adept at, and adapting to these kinds of situations.
Right, because it's a very similar situation to his own. And because he's observant and he prides himself on being very calculating and unbiased and all of that stuff, maybe by seeing someone in a similar situation to him, he will end up solving or figuring out the ways that he could solve some of his own issues, maybe, who knows?
Yeah, I think it's just being more adept at kind of the idea of he's not good at social situations.
Right.
So this is good practice for you.
Yep.
But it's a thing of where he was not going to volunteer for this no matter what they did, unless they literally,
finagled everything in order to get him there.
Yeah, it was an extreme level of maneuvering in order to get this to work out. And in some ways, because of all these other people showing up, it was a thing where he was held, probably captive, not only just the fact that his teacher wormed her way into making this work, but also then all these other characters that he would essentially have to reject in order to say no to this whole thing.
Yeah, sort of social blackmail kind of thing. Yeah. But, hey, and if it had just been the group of friends and then the popular kids and everything, that would have been a good amount of, social practice for Hachiman probably. But it didn't stop there. But wait, there's more.
There is more.
You have to also be essentially a teacher, kind of. Like not really, but kind of. And that's where you really learn the most. So you got all these kids, and what's happening with them is very similar to things that you've seen, So how are you going to handle it?
Yeah, these kids are perpetuating the same kind of social dynamics that he experienced in middle school and that he is currently observing in high school. His whole dynamic of giving this very piercing commentary to see exactly what's going on in the situation leads to a lot of fun comedy bits, but it also sees him basically understanding Tsurumi's situation quite quickly and quite well, to the point of where his own actions and stuff draw her out like a stand user, essentially, to interacting with him, and showing also the parts of where, she doesn't do social situations quite well
Nope.
either. And, having someone that, can kind of curtly give you, like Yukino, be like, hey, you should introduce your
first.
name first,
Yep.
It's a level of I would say frankness that shows that they're willing to treat her as equals. There is something slightly condescending about the way someone like Hayami Hayato treats her, basically, and that he kind of comes up to her and tries to be like, I'm going to help you in some ways,
right.
and then
totally good-natured
down,
and everything.
Yeah, squats down to her level and stuff like that, and doing things that I would say for most elementary students that are just having a good time or whatever, it probably work fine.
Yeah.
But she's not enjoying this.
Nope.
She's not having a good time here.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really liked about this episode and makes me curious about how the rest of the arc is going to go is that there are a lot of characters at play here. A lot.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, even though we don't really go into too much of, like, the kids, like, as individuals, we've got Tsurumi, but that's basically it. And then we've got sort of the group of other kids.
Yep.
We get to see how all of these different characters of our regular cast respond to this.
Yes.
And specifically how they respond and bringing up their responses to the others, right? Which almost makes it feel like it's this, hey, let's get you all together and have a conversation about how you would advise each other to navigate your own social circumstances and interactions that you guys have set up here. Right? Because it's for different people, But what was her name? Yumiko. She had a very particular, solution that she suggested, right? That isn't necessarily something...
Yumiko, yes.
Right.
Yumiko,
and that's not exactly something that would work for everyone,
No.
More like it would work specifically just for her.
For you, yeah.
But that's an excuse for the others to be able to get insight into her as a person, right? Because they would never bring up this stuff and be like, oh, hey, Yumiko, how do you handle social situations, She wouldn't do that. Right. She wouldn't answer that, and no one would ask that question, really, right?
Yeah.
But in this situation, they have that indirection. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff where if you have a conflict that feels adjacent to your characters, they'll feel comfortable enough to be able to let their own stuff bubble to the surface naturally. And it's fun because it doesn't just happen within the instances of either the comedy or, the characters that have, I would say, more obvious problems. It comes out with Yukino as well.
Well,
comes out in situations like with Hachiman and how he's just whoa, don't just suddenly get all friendly with me just because I mentioned something with curry, But no, that's not him getting friendly, dude. That's just him agreeing with you because it's an easy way to build some small level of rapport.
Well, right, and the whole thing of I'll get confused and think we're friends all of a sudden. Yeah, maybe he's trying to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is the most minimal effort too for him to do this.
Yep.
He's not literally approaching you at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I did find it rather funny when you mentioned Yukino, because when you were talking about characters whose problems aren't quite as obvious, I was like, yeah, anyone but Yukino.
Yukino's problems though don't stem from obvious sources. The idea of Yukino's problems being one where, yes, she's condescending and cold and
wears them on her sleeve for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But the source of them.
Yeah, you have no idea as to actually where the problems are coming from. That's the part that's really veiled right here. Why we need this little starlit kind of scene where she's actually revealing to us where these problems come from, and then that was a really powerful scene because it's not only just showing the idea of where she maybe even projects her own inferiority onto Yumiko, for instance, which, while it might be true in some fashion, the reason why it has such extra bite to Yukino is because you've personally experienced all of this.
Right. When she mentioned the whole idea of the persecution complex, I was like, okay, that sounds like...
That's a made-up thing.
I mean, persecution complex, it sounds more like you have a persecutor complex, right?
Right.
In your paladin Deus Vult, smite the evil ones, right? The non-believers. It's the No. She doesn't have a persecution complex. She is in your complex with which you are like, all right, you're my target. You're not getting out of here. Like,
right.
And she's effective at that, right? We're able
unless
to
she's coming up with a nickname for, Hachiman.
Well,
and she has to she has to analyze. Okay, now I got it.
So there was a part of me though that wondered whether that was just her figuring out his nickname, whether she had heard it before, or she was able to by chance piece it together, or just use her analytical
random coincidence,
like whatever. Yeah. But there was another part of me that's like, okay, hold on, Yukino's really smart, and when she makes comments like that, I'm not sure how serious she's being versus being sarcastic, right? And there was a part of me that wondered if she was doing that specifically to cause Hachiman to actually introduce himself, because as a loner himself, he is not one that wants to do it. In the same way that Tsurumi didn't want to do it originally, Yukino was able to force Tsurumi to do it because she's older, right? And she's like, that's not what you do. You introduce yourself first. So she introduces herself, and then Tsurumi's like, okay, yeah, I'm Tsurumi Rumi, But then Hachiman, he still hasn't, said anything about his name. So she's like, okay, and this is Hiki Frogia or whatever,
Yeah.
And then Hachiman's like, oh, well, I gotta correct that.
Yeah, that might be it. Although I think what it also is that he's just not going to interrupt her. She's kind of scary.
Oh, sure. Yes, Yukino would be terrifying in real life.
Yeah. The guy over there is Hiki guy. Hey, yeah, Hiki Froggy. Yeah. And it's just like, hey, whoa, how do you know my nickname from 4th grade? Now, I don't think that they're going to go into the realm of, well, we kind of saw already a little bit of a hint that there are characters that knew each other in previous school interactions and stuff, like Hayami Hayato and Yukino. Mm-hmm. But it's possible.
Yeah, at the very least, she might have heard of some of the stuff that he used to be called back then. Like maybe she talks to Komachi or something like that, and Komachi heard about it from her brother. Or, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like though it's almost got to be a fun coincidence though, because of the fact that the way he responds to it is like, whoa, how'd you figure that out?
And then we got a mini flashback.
The flashback I definitely feel like was framed as being really serious and sad, because it's a thing of where this is not a new situation, but it's also an elementary school situation as opposed to a middle school situation, which is where we flashed back to primarily. And the fact that this is a nickname that is much more kiddish than a wordplay kind of name makes me think that she's also trying to kind of go and be like, hey, he's just a dumb kid like you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So she might even be trying to set up the fact that she can see that Hachiman and Tsurumi
are similar
in some ways, and then
you don't want to end up like this, do you?
Sure, but remember what Hachiman's excitement was surrounding high school. It was that he had a horrible middle school experience,
and this is a new page, a new chapter. Yeah,
it's literally the same as what she's thinking middle school will be,
right? As
an elementary student, and
Yukino says, "Nope, history will repeat itself." It's brutal,
but it might be actually her saving grace that Yukino is here to give her the cold dose of reality on that, because kids are smart.
Yep.
I feel like we don't give kids at that 10-year-old kind of age range enough credit with how smart they can be, because they pick up on stuff. And when the ones that are not necessarily adults, but to them are like, whoa, you're a high schooler?
You're
oh my
so
God.
Old.
So old and so you've got it all figured out, right?
Oh God.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's like the whole illusion of Hachiman thinking that adults are all those specific 3 things that he brought up, which all could perfectly apply, yes, to the teacher that, forced them all into coming here. She lied about the whole situation. She complains constantly about the whole relationship status thing. And I remember the third thing that she said, or that Hachiman said regarding adults, but I believe I could find that here.
Yeah. Adult. Blah blah.
Yeah.
What was it?
Oh man, it was right here. Oh, and do things that are unfair.
That's right.
Right, and this whole thing is unfair.
Yep, absolutely.
For Hachiman. So yeah.
And that was one of the things I was kind of surprised by because, okay, so Hiratsuka Sensei.
Yes.
She definitely is extreme, right? And this is an anime, so, right? She's extreme. But if they're going to, I hope this is one of those early summer camps, since these are elementary students, where it's like, they go, well, no, but they ended up camping there. Because I was thinking that maybe it'd be one of those elementary schools where it's okay, we go there each day, but because the kids are so young, they go back home at the end of each day, right? And then it's sort of like, it's more like an 8 hours a day kind of a thing,
well, maybe
right?
the kids go back because they're from this area or something, but...
Oh, but
these guys stay here because it doesn't make sense to travel all the way back
potentially
from Chiba to wherever they're from.
But
so it could be that they don't camp out here.
Yeah, potentially. But like Hachiman, he didn't think he was going on any kind of crazy trip. So I'm curious what Komachi told him to because he would have needed to have changes of clothes and things like that if they're actually going on a camping trip.
She said, bring stuff so that you can move around freely or something like that.
Oh, gotcha. So that was a clever way to basically say bring a change of clothes.
Yeah.
Because it's, okay, yeah, not in the we'll be staying at a place for multiple days, but you'll want something in addition to the clothes you're wearing now, but it's not because we're staying the night anywhere.
It could also have been a thing where Komachi's just no, I packed his stuff. I literally just brought a bag myself. Yeah, carry this for me, would you, brother? And he's fine, whatever. And then
this is really heavy. Oh, wait, what's it?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
But then she would have had to go into his room and grab a bunch of clothes.
He was playing that game so focused on it.
That's true. He was playing the game, so there's no way that...
problem.
Yeah, there's no way he would be aware of anything going on about 5 feet further than his...
But with the kind of stuff that Hiratsuka does, to just get him to do things, right? To get Hachiman to do things, it's okay, I kind of get that. But this was another level. This is the almost I'm going to kidnap you kind of a thing,
But your friends will be there.
Your friends will be there. Yeah. It'll be all good, But yeah.
I could definitely see this being a frustration that is just another reason as to why he doesn't trust people specifically. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be a huge one because a lot of his friends are here. Mm-hmm. But that is something that's interesting to bring up, is that in that, from his perspective, this is a really inconvenient thing to deal with here. But he is getting a lot of opportunities to laugh at stupid people, which in his mind is that's worth the price of admission. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The moments where he gets to hear Yui be mystery ingredient, let's add peaches to the curry. And he's are you stupid? Like peaches? What? Who adds peaches to curry?
Oh boy, that's like when I look at a salsa and it's mango salsa and it's why? Yeah. Why do you exist?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm with you on that for sure.
But I'm curious how they're going to handle this arc, because this is an arc that they're going to be spending a fair amount of time on, and yes,
at least one more episode, yeah.
Right, and in this snafu of a rom-com, right, we need to have a summer vacation, of course, right? That just has to happen. But this is for the most part a bunch of characters that don't have direct relation to the main cast. So, if we're going to be spending multiple episodes on this, this is something that makes me wonder, is there going to be some kind of really deep stuff, more so than usual for these for the episodes that we've gotten so far, that is going to be gotten into here?
Yeah, I think it's the tie-in with Yukino going into a little bit of her past and being comfortable talking about it because it's probably so late at night and they're alone.
Yep.
But also these interactions that got so heated that I want to shout out the wizard that is Komachi, because somehow Komachi segued out of a I hate you and I hate you back kind of conversation so fast.
Yep.
Look at this. So she says, wow, it looks like you had a surprisingly higher opinion of me. I, on the other hand, hate you. Keep it down, Yukino. Either way, Rumi seems to have a pretty harsh personality.
Yeah.
Freaking Komachi!
That's some wax on, wax off.
How did you do that?
I want to start calling her Sukihi or something, because it's this is some next level stuff that she's doing here. Like
the either way just sells it for me, because when I am in a conversation with a group, which means everyone kind of sits and is quiet for a while and waits their turn to talk, and you don't have a bunch of conversations going simultaneously because everyone's too close to where it would overlap and cause some, issues with listening. The amount of times I've seen people do this is like perfectly when it gets this bad. It's like I can count it on one hand, but I really gotta say though, it's just amazing that happened, even though it ended up kind of coming back a little bit, and then Hayato basically had to be the one that was like
when Yumiko was trying to bring it back up.
So if anything, it didn't work, in the permanent sense,
but that was damn effective. Like what it reminded me of is it reminded me of something where it switched the ages. Kids are fighting, and then you have the older person, whether they're a full adult or whatever, that basically is just like the in the either way. What they're basically saying is, all right, y'all are being stupid little shits. Back to talking about something that's actually worth the air that you're expending. Like, all right, bringing the conversation back to this, right? And the fact that Komachi did that, just all the props.
But then Hayami Hayato as well, just spelling it with a much sterner voice than we've been used to with him. And so that was rather cool.
And I gotta give him props because, so in this kind of situation, I would say that the one that was mainly in the wrong here was Yukino.
I actually would agree, yeah.
Because as much as I can admire the times where she stands up for people and things like that, this is one of those things where I feel like it can be easy to not see it as big of a deal as it is because it's in anime and things like that, and there can be a rule of cool factor to it,
Right.
Because it is cool, right?
Yeah, people say like some extreme stuff to each other because,
exactly.
People say stuff at times, but then in anime at times we can get some points where it's really kind of like, I hate you, I'll never forgive you. And it's like, oh, that's the line people say a lot in anime, but it's like, no, that's a potentially pretty serious thing.
And in this situation here, it's coming almost unprovoked from Yukino. Like from
it's a little bit provoked.
It's a little bit provoked. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, Yukino, this is just again you kind of need to work on that. Like I feel like this is more build up for Yukino's eventual arc, because it's basically showing how much she actually hasn't dealt with, right? Even though she sees herself as being sort of that holy warrior champion, because there have been definitely points where it was needed, right?
Extremely low charisma score.
Exactly, but situations like this where it is not needed, and I feel like the talk, while stargazing was kind of part of her starting to maybe realize that we talked for, we argued for about 30 minutes and I won, but I made her cry. And it's like, oh, is there actually a point where even if you win, you lose? Dare I say, is it true that just because you're correct doesn't mean you're right? Is that...
Yep.
Okay.
Might be something to think about there, Shiro.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yukino,
yeah. Also, I just wanted extra confirmation on this here because she says they were arguing for 30 minutes, but she's out here like late at night. So how long was she out here by herself if the argument only lasted 30 minutes and stuff?
I've got a couple ideas on that. One, it happened like when they were sort of like just about to like go to sleep or something like that, so it kind of like it came up late when they couldn't sleep unless they hashed it out, kind of a thing. Or it happened, Yukino tried to sleep, couldn't sleep, and was like, shit, right? And then comes out here to try and clear her head and you watch the stars. Or she's just been out here for a while. Either way, I really like what it implies because Yukino as a character, I feel like her biggest flaw, like there's all the, when she's very like abrasive with people around her and stuff, that's a specific instance of her flaw coming into play, but I don't feel like that's the flaw itself. That's the symptom. The real flaw is the fact that she's too sure of herself. She doesn't question herself, right?
Okay, so that's I think
maybe
that's,
there'd be a more specific or better.
I think there's a more
one.
specific way to put at it, and that's basically that she boils things down into like a black or white situation.
Sure.
She doesn't see nuance unless she's actually looking for it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that she decides whether it's worth looking for nuance.
Right.
So if someone is garbage in her mind, she won't look for nuance.
Yep.
And that's something that I would say fulfills into the I am always right thing, but it's more of in the all of life is sorted into enemies and allies, basically.
Right.
A very black and white, hard line in the sand drawn kind of divide.
And I want to point out that I think this happening here is actually a result of the good flip side of that coin. Because she breaks things down into stark black and white, right and wrong.
Yeah.
She's like, I was in the right. Oh, wait. But then all of a sudden, she's crying.
Maybe I was in the wrong.
Maybe I was in the wrong.
Or maybe I just don't like being put into situations where I feel like I'm in the wrong, even though I know I'm right.
Yeah, exactly. So then there's something that she needs to reconcile within herself. Hence, going out here where she can be alone, it's quiet, and she can think about it.
Yeah, usually people want to suffer alone and in silence, basically, in the moments where their pride was hurt, specifically.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think that this is one of those moments where Yukino, being one of the proudest characters in the show, in some ways, as we've gotten to know Hachiman, he has a weird type of pride, but it's
nowhere near the level of Yukino.
It's not arrogance.
I don't know. I think
so we could get into that discussion again, because we've had this discussion before. Yeah. But with Yukino's pride, it is one where I feel like because she's disconnected her feelings from her central processing unit so much, when her feelings end up coming about, she's unable to basically continue going with this kind of flow that she has. Because it says here that she took 30 minutes to defeat her in that argument and ended up making her cry. Which is funny then, because, okay, if your goal was to defeat her...
You succeeded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But at what cost?
Yeah. Is that what you really wanted? Mm-hmm. Because now you're out here losing your precious sleep.
Yep.
And then she gives the thing of, I had no idea she'd cry, but they almost like italicized
it was
cry
italicized,
there, meaning you expected a different result.
Right.
So what kind of result are you expecting to get when you
well fought opponent? You have won this bout.
Right. Yeah. For 30 minutes. Like, there's a point in conversations and arguments where the argument stops actually being I would say a valid argument, because there are points where arguments are very valid to have.
Right, contending a point or having a discussion over something.
Yeah, exactly. But I would say that takes about 3 minutes.
Oh, sure.
In my mind, I'm hyper condensing this here, but I would say that most arguments are, for the most part, basically resolved, and you can tell where it's going to go.
Yeah.
After about 3 minutes of time. She took 30 minutes.
Right.
Which is 10 times my allotted time frame here.
Yeah, what I thought you were going to say, this is where my mind went, so you let me know what you think about this.
Yeah.
But that once it goes past that around 3 minutes kind of period, then it starts to go into, this is something that is a core part of my identity.
Sure.
And then we are attacking each other's identities basically with the pretense of this argument, but it's really because in order for it to go that long, it's about something that you hold so strongly that then it's the whose existence is just and right.
Yeah, I think that's definitely how Yukino maybe sees it. But I think that an argument that goes that long doesn't have to go into identity or personal attacks. What I think it ends up happening, though, is that communication starts to break down.
Sure,
and it stops being a thing about whether or not you're trying to communicate your point, but about how you're trying to convince the other person to change their mind, which doesn't happen in arguments most of the time. I'll just say it. It doesn't happen. Usually, people change their own minds.
Yeah.
Now, they're influenced by external forces and all that, but you are usually not going to see it in the right-handed power of actively arguing with someone.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if that person has even the slightest bit of pride or, on the positive side, a backbone.
Right, because, people never remember what you say. They sometimes remember what you did, and they always remember how you made them feel.
Yep.
Even if your argument is rock-solid valid, if you hurt their pride, which in general, if you're having the fight in front of other people, if it's one-on-one...
Which this one might not have been, but Yui apparently was a shoulder to cry on, which means that Yui was not far.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Because if it was just Yukino and Yumiko, oh man, their names are so similar.
Yeah, it is funny, yeah.
If it was just Yukino and Yumiko and they were alone, they both kind of know that they hate each other's guts,
Right, so they can kind of cut to the chase and make the conversation a bit shorter.
Cut to the chase, make the conversation a bit shorter, and they probably wouldn't necessarily care as much who won or lost the argument.
Because they're not performing for anyone else.
Exactly. And while neither of them would really admit to themselves, especially not Yukino, that it is as a part of a performance, that's kind of what it is, because they have to show to the other people around them that they are in the right.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about this thing here where, we see a little bit of an odd perspective of Yukino here. She shifts the topic of conversation by saying, we need to do something about that girl, which is like, okay, we're talking about that now. She's like, you seem awfully eager to help a stranger. And this is something that I'm a little bit confused by Yukino. You're saying that's how it's always been. I've only been helping strangers out. I don't help people just because they're acquaintances of mine. Meaning, Yukino, are you saying basically that in some level you don't give anyone special or preferential treatment? You treat everyone equally with regards to help?
Because that's what's right?
Oh yeah, it's what's right. That's what's the right way to do this,
Yeah.
But you sure do give deferential treatment, or the negative kind, if they're enemies. So
well, okay, yes, I thought you were going to say with Hachiman, but yeah, with enemies, absolutely. Yeah.
So in some ways, you might see it as that, well, they deserve it. They are those that commit injustices and thus need to be smited. But
or I need to balance out my own biases.
yeah. But then you telling Hachiman this while looking away from him.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're not trying to convince someone else, but maybe you're trying to remind yourself of your creed or
your
something.
Exactly. Your own ideals.
Ideals and stuff. Because then you shift over into a completely other different topic here. As she was getting a bit introspective, be like, oh, I'm revealing a bit too much. Also, don't you think she's somewhat similar to Yui Gahama? Which I was like, okay, I could kind of see that.
Sure.
But I think there's someone here that actually
we were
reminds me of a little bit more, though.
We were getting into a lot of particular stuff there, like with the whole thing of the, and I can't believe it didn't stand out to me when I was watching the episode, so I'm glad you brought it back up, but the whole thing of the I only ever help strangers, that felt similar to me to the whole thing about her being the replacement or not the replacement, the backup, basically, with regards to her family and everything, because we know that she sort of gets like paraded around at parties, kind of, like that's the impression we've got, the nice dresses and everything.
Yep. We now have a little bit of confirmation as to what kind of role she and her family has within society in general.
Right. Your dad probably owns some super mega company or whatever, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, she's had a very particular childhood.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that could also be an explanation for why she then deflected to Yui at that point, because it's like, this is something that I really don't like talking about, because maybe that was why that the people had to be strangers, right? Because when it's family, that's all kinds of leaves a bad taste in the mouth. The things that my family does, well, it's probably all with like the sort of the schmoozing up with like the other like people in their sort of networks and things like that or whatever. I'm reading into this a lot, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that Yukino gets at, she doesn't she doesn't actually fully directly approach it because...
Well, yeah, that's the next thing here, right? Mm-hmm. Like, look, she then goes to be like, oh, and Hayama probably can't get his mind off of it. Like, this is the first time I think we've seen her truly processing the way her thoughts work. And she's doing this specifically, I think, because Hachiman's here.
Oh,
and she
about other people?
Well, no, she's being vulnerable right now. This is in her way being vulnerable by sharing her raw, unprocessed thoughts. Because one of the things that's weird about the way people can think about like this is that they can have a thing that they're thinking about, and then at that point where they realize that they came to a conclusion on it, they don't share that conclusion. They just share the process, and then they jump ship to the next thing, and then they're like, okay, process, conclusion, jump to the next thing. I very much kind of understand this kind of flow of consciousness that she's giving here, because the conversation, it just doesn't flow. The fact that she went straight to Hayama after this, and he's like, wait, what's up with you and Hayama? And then she just gives, oh, yeah, here's the factual answer. You know each other. There's that. And he's just like, oh. It's one of those things of where someone's saying a bit more than they think that they're saying.
Right.
And Hachiman's observant, so he's like, I'm just going to let them talk.
Yep.
They need to do this for some reason.
Right, because there's the words we actually use, and then there's how we use those words and why we use those words. And I feel like that's something that Hachiman is really good at picking up on, but then that's also where, like, hence the body language and tone of voice and everything, that's 90% of communication.
Yeah. But he does kind of give I guess that must have been a pain, pain. And then she's like, you say that like it's not your problem.
Yeah.
It's my sister's role to show up in public situations like that. I'm nothing but a substitute. Yeah. And it's just like, well, there's the confirmation. We now know which part you were projecting about with Yumiko, or which part was able to have all that extra bite because you felt that in the past plenty of times.
Yeah.
And then she goes off alone here and just kind of sits by the river.
Wait. Oh, shoot.
Oh, wait, no. That's Tsurumi.
Yeah, okay, that's Tsurumi.
Never mind.
I was going to say.
Tsurumi.
Okay.
I thought that was actually Yukino.
Okay, I like that because
it's not. It's Tsurumi.
I thought from the get-go that was Tsurumi, and yes, that is Tsurumi.
Yeah, but they show the reflection to the point where it's like, okay, that's 100% Tsurumi.
But the parallel is definitely there, right? Like, I
need to process this. I'm going to
go out alone at night,
Right, but I'm also, like, I was just told earlier today that my plan for middle school isn't going to work.
Nope. Yeah.
That's pretty depressing. Like, that's pretty upsetting. So she's going to have to think about that. How does she feel about that? They might have literally just, by their unique combination of approaches to interacting with her,
shattered her world. Yeah.
Well, right, but given her the opportunity to rebuild it with something else.
Exactly.
And we'll see what she decides in the next episode. But yeah, I think that this was probably one of the most vulnerable moments we've had with Yukino. That she, again, seems to be somewhat consciously deciding, but also operating a bit on a stream of consciousness. I feel like it's an aspect of, like, forgetting her books. The forgetting her books thing was a subconscious, like, thing. She didn't consciously decide to leave her books there, right?
Right. But in this case, it was more obvious because the person she was talking to literally started crying. So it was kind of a slap in the face of the, but I'm not sure anymore.
Right. But why she started talking about all of this with Hachiman, I feel like, is that middle ground of where Hachiman's here, so I'm going to interact with him. But as to what I'm specifically going to say when I'm interacting with him, Hachiman didn't prompt her that much.
No.
So
not really.
In some ways, this is just the fact that she needs to talk about this because she's in pain a little bit.
Well, yeah, that too.
She's got to be feeling something. And yet, she's also, a paladin without a...
who's like, wait, are my tenets wrong?
Yeah, without a strong foundation at the moment.
Yeah.
So, wow,
I love how this show manages to take things for characters that we are just getting introduced to, you know? Like, and it would be very easy in shows to be like, oh, new characters, I don't really care about these new characters. Let's just hang out with the old characters, but then tie them in with the kind of things that they're going through to our current cast and have it be a different perspective, different angle on the old problems that we always kind of knew were there.
Sure.
Because they're different people.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It's good stuff. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. And also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
Indeed. We stream Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Monday, podcast. Tuesdays, One Piece dramatic manga readings. Wednesdays and Fridays, you do gaming.
Yep, I'm playing Hades right now.
Yep, and then on Thursdays I do gaming, which right now is Persona 4 Golden.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.